Hi, my name is Raj Kapany. We're coming to you from UC Santa Clara, UC Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, and I'm very pleased to be here and have a chance to meet with you all to introduce the first My Journey event. We hope to have many of these, but at this point we're looking at once a quarter and then moving it up to once a month. I'd like to take a few minutes to thank a few people. Number one, UC Santa Cruz Extension, Santa Clara, Virginia, thank you very much. And Jerry, I'd also like to thank Madam Manel at the C, the Center of Entrepreneurial Innovation Development. And I'd like to thank Molly and company for helping us with the basket engineering group. For us to go forward here, I'd like to introduce these gentlemen. To my left, my far left is Mandeep Arora. Mandeep is a CEO. He founded a company called Cantaloupe Systems, in which he worked very hard for almost 10 years and exited the company with a NASDAQ purchaser called USA Technologies. After that, Mandeep became a partner at Nordic Ventures and is also a founder slash business executive at Furno Materials. Mandeep, thank you very much for hosting this event. Our guest today is Dr. Ratinder Ahuja, who is renowned in computer engineering and has been in the industry for quite a while, Ratinder, and he's exited several companies to Cisco Systems, McAfee, and Fortinet. And currently he is a CTO of Pure Storage. Welcome, Ratinder. And with that being said, Mandeep, I'm going to hand it over to you. There's a wealth of talent in Silicon Valley and Santa Clara. Our aim and our objective is to bring that to you on a regular basis and bring Silicon Valley's finest.
Thank you, Raj. So we're going to speak with Dr. Ahuja here about his background and how he's been so successful in entrepreneurship. 4 exits is the big number. And the big topic we're going to dive into is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which is an important book to Ratinder here. We talked about the multiple exits, and first company was Internet Junction, correct? In 1994, which you sold to Cisco in 1995. That was a quick one. WebStacks, you started in 1999, sold that 2 years later to Extreme Networks. Reconnects, you started in 2003, and 5 years later, you sold to McAfee. And ShieldX, your most recent one, you started in 2019 and sold it to Pure Storage.
And just to add to the list, I'm now chairman of a company called Sohavi AI, which is building AI-assisted medical documentation. So that's one.
Number 5. All right. So, can you tell us about the book? I mean, a lot of people know about it, but not everybody does. Tell us about Sun Tzu's Art of War. How did this book come to be, and how did it end up in your life?
Sure. So, Sun Tzu's Art of War is a 2,500-year-old manuscript. And it was written to teach statecraft. It was meant to be a guidebook for people that ran states, countries,
like kings and emperors.
And the language is very flowery. It's actually encoded, so the average person reads it and it's like, it sounds like poetry, but it has deep meaning. How did I come across it? So I've studied Taekwondo for 30 years. I've studied Taekwondo. And all martial artists will come across it. And there are many interpretations of Art of War by Sun Tzu. And some of them do apply to martial arts, and then many of them actually apply to talk about statecraft, but business, and there's I think probably 100 different applications of Sun Tzu Art of War, everything from sales and marketing to running companies, strategy in general. So, so I did come across this as part of my martial arts journey, and then I kept studying it. And this is one of those books that you can take many lifetimes to master. Because we read it on the weekend, but it'll take many lifetimes to master, and I find myself on that journey.
So, you were telling me when we spoke before about the way it informs how you analyze a startup and how to think about a startup's odds of success, how to identify opportunities. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So one of the unique things about water is that it has mathematical precision in it. And it starts off by saying things that are not under your control, which is in flowery language referred to as the heavens, and things that are under your control, which is called earth, where you choose to. So things that are not under your control and things that you choose to. And there is a dramatic interaction between them. So trends occur not because you and I sat down or somebody sat down and invented a mobile phone. It took many, many decades of innovations and iterations for major trend to occur. And there have been many trends over the time. You can just recall the big 5 or 6 trends. Networking happened, mobility happened, web apps happened, cloud happened, Gen AI is happening as we speak. And there's many more things happening in different types of computing, quantum computing, and so forth. So when these trends do take shape, and then all of a sudden they are the storm is upon you. It's not just distant thunder; it is now raining.
I mean, the trend is live. It's
live.
really not just a vision out there in the future. It's happening. It's impacting people everywhere.
Right. So now each one of us has a limited scope. We see things from where we are on a spectrum. It's microscopic. Right? None of us have sort of this incredibly broad, just because of the way we are looking where we are. So, and Sun Tzu's system, true wisdom lies in having the vision to see a trend coming, having the knowledge of the ground, the earth, place where you are going to be, and be able to see the impact of that change on that ground, which is marketplace. So for us, in the business world, we're thinking of it, we're saying a trend is going to occur. Will it be a mega trend? And will it impact a market, a collection of people that have similar needs and interests, which is the market? So that you'll find many pontificators that will pontificate about the great things that happen because of the trend. But that's where they stop. And there'll be others who, through training, would be taught or have taught themselves or have been trained to think, what is the impact on a marketplace that I can leverage? Now you have to have intimate knowledge of the marketplace, saying, I know this type of computing is going to get leveraged in the cloud, so you have to take action.
Yeah.
And this is where I say the greatness lies in having the philosopher and the executioner in one person, is what you take advantage of these trends and the impacts that will cause.
So the philosopher can talk about the trend, but the executioner has to go and bring that to reality.
And yes, and there are executions who say, give me a checklist, I will perform it to perfection.
Yeah.
I will lay down 12 bricks an hour and it'll get done. And you need that too, right? And that's what executioner is. But whether the trend is this way or that way, not my concern. I execute, right? And yes, you need them, and you need that team. But that combination is what is needed to generate something.
So let's make this a little more concrete and go through your entrepreneurial journey and talk about the marketplace trend, how you saw it, how you applied it. So the first one was Internet Junction.
Yeah, perfect. So my doctoral dissertation was in connecting different transports together. So those of you who've been here long enough, You probably remember terms like TCP and DECnet and OSI, networking stacks and so forth. So
These are all networking, internet connectivity, computer connectivity protocols from the 90s.
and
Yeah.
today nobody uses the it's an object that just works, right? So my doctoral dissertation was, and in those days there were many disparate transport systems in place, Netware, IPX, Raj probably remembers. Nowhere Netware used to rule the land, local area network. And TCP/IP as the dominant network internet protocol just coming in. And Mosaic, the first internet applications came along as they're dating themselves.
The first real browser.
First browser came along, and that piqued my interest. And I said, this is certainly Jesus, right? That sort of having that vision. And it's the dependency of the networking which I pursued, right? And my doctoral dissertation was saying, how do you connect different networks together, different protocols together at a transport layer? So I said, hey, I know how to do this. So me and three guys in a garage, literally my apartment in Mountain View, we built this, and now you could enable a Nobel network-based local area network, office network, by simply installing a DLL, and you could run any of the internet apps, and we had a gateway that did out of the deal. So we came across Cisco, and Cisco loved it because they were trying to position their edge routers into the campus, and there was no TCP/IP; it was all IPX internally. I said, perfect. Management didn't have requirements. This was a perfect example of a trend coming.
The trend being the web.
The web.
Yep.
But protocol existed long before that.
Yeah.
But what was gonna, bring it to everybody was the browser.
Yeah.
Right? And that changed the game.
That's when you knew the rain was coming.
That's when the thunder was coming. So we saw the distant thunder taking, and we said, this is going to rain. Yeah. And here's the problem.
And the marketplace for you was the networking space.
The enterprise
networking
space, because they were all a different protocol and so forth. And this is time that, so Cisco acquired the company, and that became part of Cisco's working.
Great. Number 2, web stacks.
Yes. So now networking speeds were growing, right? So gigabit and 10 gig and 100 gig, and it was non-stop going.
We're moving from dial-up modems to
multi-gigabit
DSL and things like that.
And at the same time, internet applications were growing, right? So we were setting up web server farms and sort of scaling things up. And in this architecture, there was a very critical component called the server load balancer, which is how you would scale up, millions of connections coming in, and then farming it out to.
When all of a sudden everybody's going to Yahoo or eBay.
Big, large websites, right? And even internally, enterprises are setting up portals for their own customers, their own employees. So this load balancing function was a software function. And I was like, well, this is, now you were having architectures which had load balancers with load balancers, right? So it was getting critical. So I said, hey, I know how to build stacks. My doctoral dissertation was in transport stacks. So this is, again, sort of, because like I said, everybody has, a reach, a sort of what they can actually do, right? And I'll come back to Sun Tzu's reference of the cost of the campaign. And you should only attempt things that you can actually reach. Otherwise, you will end up in a campaign that is never ending. It will take amounts of experience and costs that you cannot afford, and challenges. So this then gave me the idea that I can actually build the stack in hardware. So it's not never been attempted at that time. I'm talking a long time ago, 20 years ago, 1999. And I said, hey, we'll build this in hardware so it can scale at line rates. And lo and behold, we built probably at that time the industry's most complicated piece of hardware that did full layer 4, layer 7, processing completely in silicon and logic. And Extreme Networks, which is an up and coming, specializing in high-speed networking, multi-gigabit layer 3 switching services, right in the sweet spot. And we met them at home networks in Paris. And they loved it, and they said, "Okay, we'll make it."
Yeah. So in this case, the trend was increasing data consumption, and then the marketplace was load balancing. So let's go back to this point you were talking about, that the cost of a campaign. So what's the interpretation in this case that you have to have the know-how and that you, because of your specialized area that gave you the know-how? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens is, so people see the trend. So let's say I was in the, I was in the medical field. I said, man, I can see medical field going up. I can see portals coming up. I'm going to solve a problem in this way, right?
Right.
But because I don't have that expertise or knowledge of the market, or
Because you're a doctor.
because I'm a doctor,
Yeah.
so that would be a hard campaign,
Right.
right? And it would cost many times more because you're kind of making mistakes and learning it. And not that it can't be done, but Sun Tzu says, before you do anything, there is a mathematical precision needed to calculate the cost of your campaign. And when you're fundraising, setting up your teams, everything takes up resources, time, energy. And unless you do that math correctly, you're bound to fail because you will run out of money when you're in beta and the MVP is not done yet, product market fit is not done yet, and you have unhappy investors, you have employees that are now losing confidence. So the cost of the campaign is, and having that knowledge of the marketplace. So Sun Tzu says you spend majority of your time there before you launch a campaign. You gather intelligence, you do the calculations, you figure out the formula. Are you going to set this up correctly, or are you going to set this up failure? So the whole and Sun Tzu says, and many philosophers that after that have said, were you born lucky, or did you manufacture your luck? so Sun Tzu says there is no such thing as luck. There is a element of luck, which is the trend may change. Again, your wisdom is in understanding that the trend has changed. The campaign math is no longer viable, and hence you have to draw a conclusion. So in Sun Tzu's word, you manufacture your luck by paying careful attention to the cost of the campaign, the information about the market, the validity of the trend, before you take the first step.
So the takeaways for an entrepreneur: one, take your time before you launch your campaign, before you start hiring people, before you start burning cash. Understand the market, understand the trend, and understand what resources you're going to need to attack it. If you don't have those resources, then keep looking.
Okay, and this is where he introduces the next concept, which is the executive unit, right? So this and the mission. He makes a clear distinction between vision and mission. Most, classwork and courses, entrepreneurs and people in our industry, executives, will constantly mix up mission and vision. They'll mix up plan versus strategy, and there's a clear distinction in those in Sun Tzu's framework. There are many frameworks in which plan and strategy are the same, mission and vision are interchangeable, but that's fine. In his framework, it is very clear. Strategy is a systematic method on how you constantly improve your position. Right? That is strategy. A plan or a tactic is how you execute the mission. Right? It is the measured steps that you would take. Plans are bound to change because everything around you is in flux. Strategy will not change. Right? So the strategy says, I will get X number of customer adoptions every year, and here's how I execute it. So your strategy is still the same. Your steps may change over time. Right. So having that clear distinction in your planning and math behind all of this, it helps you navigate all these issues.
So we talk about one takeaway. The other takeaway is and I talk to entrepreneurs all the time and say, I don't want too much dilution. I want to raise less capital. You're always wrong. So you want to raise more capital to allow for getting past those mistakes. And you talked about iterating before and how that's part of all of this.
Now this is the amazing part, right? So you got knowledge. You say, okay, I get this market, and I have people that get this market. You may not have it, right? So you have to have the competitive unit that has those functions. There are people that specialize in understanding the market and go to market, right? And that may not be you. That's fine. You recognize that, saying he's going to be part of my campaign because I need that skill. So this competitive unit has executives in it that actually execute, right? They take action to build something, and then you have to position it in the market. What happens is common. Your knowledge of the market is incomplete. Your vision is flawed. Your actions are terrible, and your positioning makes no money. That's reality, right? And most 99% of startups will go through.
Yeah.
So you would say, man, this is everything is bound to failure.
Right.
And he says, yes, you must now iterate. You must refine the knowledge. You must refine.
He says this outcome is normal.
It will be.
It will be 99% of the time.
99% of the
That
time.
doesn't mean you fold up shop and walk away.
You make this part of your plan. Saying, I'm starting off with the best knowledge I have. But when you enter that marketplace, you see competitors, you see behavior changing, you see many factors which you can't know from.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you build something and you find all these environmental issues, and all of a sudden, the product you build doesn't work, right, or that's flawed. And then you try to ask somebody money, they laugh you out of it.
Yeah.
No, I would never pay for this.
Right.
I wouldn't even take it for free.
Right.
So now and Sun Tzu calls this progress cycle. Says you must iterate this fast. Now we've coined terms like fail fast and agility, and in our modern business practices, these concepts are there.
Yeah.
But this was 2,500 years ago,
Right.
where he laid this out with mathematical precision. The reason I keep calling mathematical, there is actually a text which truly creates formulas for all this, and gives you a plug and play type environment. You can say, hey, this is what I would have to do. Okay, this is how many iterations I have to do before I have product market fit. And then that's all. And he lays down the characteristics of everything, positioning, how do you do that, and competition, what types of competition there. So it has a fair amount of analytical depth to it, which is all hidden in the flowery language of the digital.
Yeah.
So
we'll send out to the attendees some links of access to these texts, and if any of you have questions, we will do Q&A at the end, and you can go ahead and send the questions anytime.
And there's a specific author that I've followed who's writing interpretation of the art of war. I find.
So Sun Tzu says your plan has to accommodate for the fact that your plan is wrong. Is that a
You'll most likely encounter issues that you would have to change your plan and continue. And this is where the concept of your inventory sources come in. Right? So you are going to run out of money and have all this unhappiness that comes along with it, and that has to be countered. So wisdom lies in not underestimating challenge.
Yeah, stay humble.
Stay humble and keep an open mindset.
All right. So then now we'll go back to the history. So number 3, photonics.
Yes. So now we are sort of tracing the growth of the internet, and so now we have large portals like Yahoo and eBay and all these things in place, right? And the attacks. So data communication is progressing and it's proving itself, right? It's scaling up, world-class services. So security was at that time largely focused on infrastructure. So we guys still remember the days when Yahoo went down, the eBay went down. There were people doing denial of service, different type of attacks. But then when banking and commerce and medicine, everything went online, all of a sudden the attacks went from infrastructure to information. And we saw this transition happen. Coming from the networking background, with amazing portals getting built. And then we started seeing the attacks move from, because you could monetize.
Hackers started to see value in data that was out there that you go and steal.
So, perfect trend shift. Focus going back from infrastructure to information. Value of information is much higher than bringing the infrastructure. Then this gave rise to some regulations coming along, PCI and HIPAA, and all these things started coming along and started addressing. So this is where I saw the next opportunity and said, we need to look at information tools and map that to security policy. And I said, hey, I already know how to go up the network stack and do it, very hard and fast. And now I just need to take one more step. So the campaign is not that vision. Of course, it has its own challenges, but we took that next step. And I had a team that we want to build. Say, take one more step and move up the stack into content. And we look at the content that is going on the network, or whether it's sitting on the server, anywhere the content is, we will classify the content and attach security policies to it. This gave rise to data loss prevention, which today is a $1 billion business. Every enterprise is mandated to have data loss prevention. So Reconics was one of the pioneers. We did a lot of prevention space. From that, today I have about 100 plus patents. Just from the data loss prevention side, I think I have like 30 plus patents. And Reconics was a constant leader in Gartner Magic Quadrants. And then McAfee, which was a very large security player, in the endpoint space, acquired Reconics, and I became CTO.
Amazing. So in this case, the trend was, companies were collecting data, consumer data, valuable data. Hackers were attacking that data, trying to grab it, right? It was more on that information was digitized, it was online. So security was becoming a bigger thing for data theft. And the marketplace was raised.
Yeah, large enterprises that were protected.
Yeah.
And again, now, this wasn't the only trend. There was mobility happening, there were many other trends happening. Then I could just be a pontificator and say, yeah, mobility will need security, but I don't have that expertise. That campaign is too expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So the thinking training comes in and says, yes, I know that's a big opportunity, but you're not geared for that campaign, right? You need to wait and find a campaign that you can actually be
successful. You have an expert, decent networking here. You said, how can I take that and go from there to help solve these problems? Yeah.
Many times you'll see, very, very smart people that are saying, oh, I gotta go mobility, I gotta go to quantum security, quantum computing. I'm sure that's an exciting space.
Yeah.
I don't have a background in quantum computing, So unless that right executive team comes together, that would be a difficult campaign for me.
Yeah.
Perhaps not for others that understand that space.
Yeah.
Right. So that calculation we're always doing.
Okay. And then the last one was GeoDex.
Yes. So then the cloud revolution comes along, and then everything's going to the cloud. And so this became a problem for the traditional hardware and appliance vendors, which were used to deploying things in enterprise data centers or enterprise networks. And then when the cloud comes along, there's no place to put a box. So now you need systems that are highly elastic, that are fully orchestrable, automated, that can work in lights out type operation. So this
one lights out,
meaning if the load is going up, it has to auto scale on its own. Right? No operator is saying, "Hey, bring in more pop," which used to be
plug in more, sort of plug it in, just roll it in on a cart and plug more in.
Yeah. Which was the norm in the data center world, where you actually planned all that out and people brought in physically stuff. But in this case, it's had to elastically go up. So now, if you apply those principles in network security, that became an interesting problem. And I had grown up building appliances. My second company was the most complicated piece of hardware, at least in that time frame. Transitioning now to something that there is no place for hardware.
Yeah, no boxes.
No boxes. So and new class of architectures, microservices and elastic scaling, microservices came on. I reimagined networking appliances to be built using those form factors. And that gave me the next 50 patents on microservices-based network scaling, which we did the seminal work on that, and then of that with the traditional network security player. So now you had a cloud scale system that automatically understood risk, automatically generated the security policy, automatically placed these containerized microservice-based security controls, reacted to traffic, and then through automated.
So the trend in this case was
cloud adoption.
Yeah.
The requirement for elasticity and automated orchestration.
Yeah, and again,
the anti-box.
The area was still on this networking.
There's certain networking space, so the campaign cost is not that high for me. So the theme continued. Now, you would say, hey, what about this last thing you just mentioned with GenAI? That's not your space.
Right.
So in this case, it would have not been my space, but, and I'm a chairman of the company and guiding them. It is actually run by a dentist. So for that person, it is in their
backyard. They have that background.
Yes, they have the background. They understand what documentation means in that space.
Yeah.
What should the form factor should it look like? And then I have sort of put together the piece around it to say, here's how you would use GenAI to produce this. So And I'm sure many of our audience right now is thinking about how do I, if this is upon us, that Gen AI is no longer distant thunder. It is raining, right? And Raj just mentioned that it is the opportunity, expansion of data centers to accommodate AI workloads. So it is real, and there will be every business app is going to get reimagined on how, which is the new CLI, right? If you kind of draw a conclusion, we came the DOS days, many of us remember the Cisco CLI, right? That led to saying, this is terrible, let's go to user experience. And user experience sort of also became complex. Now you have drop down and menu and click this and click that. You need training on user experience, right? And now we're saying, no, you made a mistake. I want to just express in natural language what I want to achieve, let the system do it.
Which is what Gen AI is going to bring. And it was asked the computer, go create an image for me, make it look like this, and boom.
That's and all of a sudden we realized that we were not looking for search results, we were looking for answers. And it's like 25 years, you're like, oh, I was looking for answers, not search results. And so this is real. And then, like, I'm sure like many of you are looking at saying, how do I solve this in my, the danger here is the commoditization. Almost anybody can build something, right? So, and all platform vendors are going to embed this in their platforms. So again, now the challenge is what is unique and differentiated. Sun Tzu also says you go where nobody else is.
Right. Right now, everybody's going in this one area.
So, and the cost of the campaign is so low
that
almost anybody can. So that's going to be challenging. You see ChatGPT enhancing their offering to the point where just day before yesterday, cracking open PDFs and asking questions in PDF was a thing. Now it's part of ChatGPT. Right. So it's a sort of consuming things that are in its way. Yeah. So that's a big difference.
So switching gears, we have the students from UCSC watching, and they're likely, many of them, some of them might be ready to start a company right out of college, but some of them might want to work on their careers first. How does this advice apply to the way somebody approaches their early career?
I think you can look at it in a number of ways. I'm sure there are many students that are doctoral students that are going deep into AI systems, and they will invent algorithms that will give 10x, 100x game changer, right? And then that opens up that opportunity.
Yeah. Right. But let's talk about a bachelor's student.
And a bachelor student would say, I should specialize in taking use of Gen AI to enhance systems.
Yep.
Right? So whether you want to go to operating systems, or whether you go to networking, or experience, marketing, whatever, that's how you should be thinking. That how do I apply Gen AI to that system?
Yeah.
And that makes you valuable to the market, and then you get opportunity.
Become really comfortable with that trend, become an expert in that trend.
How to leverage that trend, because enterprises are looking for, the enterprise is not blind. They are saying, hey, I need to get 10% productivity across my 5,000 employees. And how do we do it?
Yeah.
So they will look for people that can take them on that path, that are already trained,
that aren't resistant to change, but excited about the change.
And they understand. So if you're a marketing student, you understand, what product marketing means, and say, here's how I bring in Gen AI to become even more productive.
Okay. Now, there's another topic I want to get to, but first, while we're still in this area, we do have a question from Jaspal Singh, asking, what do you see the next phase of internet evolution beyond apps and widgets and gadgets?
For the internet itself.
Yes.
Or how so if you say, the internet today is enabling commerce, it's enabling communications, and we would say, where does it go next? You can already see things like Starlink, which is further monetizing it, making it faster. You will see your phones connected to satellites directly, so you have, I live in Saratoga and I don't have coverage.
Yeah.
I don't have cell coverage there, so which is strange in the those kind of things connectivity will be all
Everywhere, all the time.
right. It's just strange to say now,
Yes,
day and age, but it's still
but we still get out of range sometimes.
yes, we do. So
Sometimes we go looking for that.
yes, so that's kind of strange that the infrastructure has to get there. Raj is working on some very exciting networking technologies to scale the network to accommodate workloads, AI workloads, which are heavy and huge.
Yeah.
So AI workloads create a fair amount of network traffic. So, and then you also see AR, VR type experiences coming, and those will also have experience as well as how applications are built. Almost every app, like I said, is going to get Gen AI in it. So you will start seeing appliances and devices that are Gen AI. You saw Pin.
The humane AI pin. Yeah, this is got to announce some ex-Apple folks with the AI device to wear on their shirt.
So those are, they will use the network in more interesting ways, right? You have to build protocols that can take into account Gen AI.
The network still is always important, so you're not running out of things to do.
You're not running out of things to do. So so clearly the network, but by the way, the network suites are constantly going up. There's a 400 gig Ethernet consortium happening right now as we speak, right? So there's 400 gig. Right? So we're talking hundreds of times where we started over which is gigabit Ethernet. Right? So in the ASIC, so if you are interested in that space, the ASIC world for grid networking here has constantly evolved.
Yeah.
More and more dense, more and more this stuff specialized.
If there's any more questions, please send them in. We're gonna shift gears in a big way now. When I hop on a Zoom meeting with you, you've got an image up that says explains how to use fitness to fine tune the brain, and you touched a bit on your Taekwondo, your is it sixth degree, which is a big deal, and we also talked about. Well, let's talk about that. Talk to me about how to use fitness to fine tune the brain. How do you think about that, and what role has Taekwondo played for you in your life and in your career?
Absolutely. So I started my martial arts journey when I was in India in high school, and one of my uncles had a book on karate. He had a book on karate, and I came across that and said, this we always wanted to learn martial arts, and Sikh history was integral part of our growing up. And but the formalism is hard to do. There are schools still teaching, but I'm kind of digressing here. But let me go back to the root of all martial arts. It was actually in South India, so that's where art flourished. And the Shastra Vidya, as we understand it today, comes 5,000 plus years old. So this Buddhist monk from Thalna, southernmost of India, goes all the way to Tibet to teach Buddhism. And he gets there, and Tibet climate is harsh, people die young. Terrible, harsh environment, physically harsh environment. So he said he can't get any enlightenment or any sort of spiritual growth. Die so young. So first he said, I'm going to make you healthy. Mm-hmm. So he takes the concepts of Indian yoga and turns it into what he calls the bone marrow transformation system. And it seems strange because harsh environment, not enough food, you're not getting enough protein to build big muscles. So he says, no, we're going to build skeletal muscles. And if you go do a study on skeletal muscles, they are many times stronger than your extreme muscles. He takes concepts from Hatha Yoga, does it into a system called Qigong, the energy. And Qigong then understand, so he takes the concepts that have existed in Indian yoga for millennia on the upkeep of the endocrine system. So everything in the body, sort of controlled by the major glands, and over time they degrade, and that's how these comes in. So yoga, aging, for small. So so yoga has strived to keep the endocrine system functioning. And again, over the years, the deep theory is lost, and perhaps it's just turned into a physical thing. Yeah. But it's all there. Right? Breath work, meditation. So there's a very integrated system that losing its.
People got specialized in strength and fighting or just pure meditation and not the whole thing together.
So the Qigong then becomes the root of all martial arts and it flourishes in Far East. And Taekwondo is one such form. So so the whole thing sort of. So when I was going through my martial arts journey, I started with judo in India. Then I came to America. I started did my master's and PhD. And I started studying Taekwondo along with that. And then so through this journey, eventually, physically you sort of hit a block, and you're now dealing with injury and time, tens of years gone by. And then I realized that there is a whole parallel art which is not being taught, which is Qigong or more esoteric techniques. And and then I also started to understand, how the endocrine system is controlled by the master glands, the thymus, the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and what role they play in generating the human growth hormone and regulating everything in your body. So as I was studying, some of these esoteric texts and trying to understand what to do about it, I started studying Qigong to supplement my Taekwondo, which then led me to sort of better understand how the brain works, and I came across the whole concepts of brain waves. The brain waves, they cover different aspects of what you do. One of them is called theta waves, which help you with creativity. And as you understand this, the experienced meditator, either by practice or by intuition, becomes instantly creative. Or they can, rest even if they're sitting in a train station, because they can turn on the delta waves, which is relaxation and sleep. So experience can make you do that. And there are many other techniques. Sound theory, the one where they actually know the frequency. The delta waves is 8 hertz. You can't produce 8 hertz, but you do 100 hertz and 108 hertz, and you put that out of phase, and now your brain actually synchronizes with that.
Yeah.
So Raj and I have had many discussions. We believe that many of the spiritual texts are very, very rhythmic. And it's just my theory. That my belief is that those rhythms impact different portions of the brain. And they bring you peace, or they bring you contentment, or they bring you alertness, or they make you martial. Right? So there's a secret hidden. One day when you sponsor the program to help you scientific study on how these.
There's a lot of people experimenting with music and binaural beats and all kinds of things today. So you're saying that in Gurbani, some of this is already there.
Besides the deep philosophical meaning, I believe there is also a rhythm that is training your brain. Right? So as part of that, so the visual that you talk about that I have in my Zoom background sort of brings that integration, and that was a scientific study which said different physical activities also impact them. And the point of the visual was that you can't just do weight training, or you can't just do yoga, or you can't just do biking or singular activity, because besides physically becoming a problem, you're also hindering your development.
Yeah.
So that was the point, saying you have to do this. So that's why I do weight training on Monday and Wednesday and Friday, and Taekwondo Tuesdays, Thursdays I go running on Saturday, and the rest of the time I do other stuff.
What about meditation? Do you integrate that?
It is part of that as well, and that took me on many of the journeys. So people will ask me, so what's the hard thing? You've done all the startups. It must be really hard. What is the hardest startup? I said, well, it wasn't the startup that was the hard. I went through these things called the standing meditations. And they are a combination of martial arts and Qigong, and where you stand in a certain posture. Hatha Yoga has that too. Where you stand in a certain posture for long duration time. I'm talking 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yes. Specific posture. The horse stance. Yeah, that's a martial arts. The horse stance, very basic posture. But this training says you have to stand in that for a elongated period of time. So I said, hey, Leela, do this for so long. And I couldn't do 3 minutes. Gravity takes over your mind, you lose breath control, your mind sort of wander, and then all of a sudden it's just too painful. So it took me, even after all of this training, it took me 3 years to get to the point where I could stand for 2 hours. That was my testing. How to do. Another one was where we did something called the dark room training. We actually stay in darkness for extended periods of time. And the theory behind that is to stimulate the hypothalamus, thymus, and the pituitary gland. So those campaigns were actually part of them.
Doing a startup. Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty hard. um, um, so how did all of that benefit? All of those things, how did they benefit your career, but also just your life?
Yeah, so I think so in general, those the principles of Sun Tzu, supplementing it with with martial arts and all the other esoteric practices. So it makes you understand the whole concept of ebb and flow. That trends are not under your control. Trends do change. So if you just observe the ocean, you'll see this constant ebb and flow. And when you are not experienced, you actually are in opposition to the natural order. And that is a problem, right? When it's raining, you try to go out and play, and when it's sunny, you're inside watching TV, and you're out of sync with the universe.
Yeah.
What the universe is giving you the opportunity to do. So I think that's what some of these training allow you to do, is sort of figure out how to get in sync with the natural order and find your position in it, so you're not getting drowned by the ebb and flows, but you're making progress with the ebb.
Yep.
That's a little bit of a summarize how to solve that.
Yeah, we have one more topic before we go there. We talked about sometimes the trends do change. The weather changes. You're going the other direction. What do you do? Running a company, the trends change.
We are seeing it as we speak. So, day before last week, ChatGPT had 100 plus plugins. And then ChatGPT now is 4.5, turbo models, combined all of a sudden, almost a trend shift. And this will happen many times. So I think the answer of the wisdom, and many who are going to suffer from this, the vision, the megatrend is ChatGPT, done. For whatever reason it is. And that vision now is to understand how's that progressing, and is it going to be favorable or unfavorable?
Yeah.
So that's one of them. The other way to say is, it's done. I can join them, or I can do something entirely different. I'm sure when they started out many years ago, started off with different in mind what AI looked like those days, and how what it's generated is predicted. Because it's more easy to use, it's giving average person value, they don't know the hard work. So many of you that are doing PhDs or advanced students or executives looking at the next thing, and you may want to go back and, easy to say, but find an area where there is nobody. Right? You could say, hey, what are you doing at Pure Storage? It's a storage company. And they had no security. I'm a security guy. We have nobody. Match made in heaven. So they appreciate what I'm doing to them. I appreciate it because I get to set the standard for them and security. So those are the kind of things that go where there is no one. And again, there are texts like Motion Step.
Yeah.
Which explore this concept. And I think that's what you.
So sometimes the weather changes and you may just have to back up and start a new campaign. Question. I'll get a little bit more. You speak about how poetry works. It's similar to your martial arts training.
The rhythm. So I use I use some of these rhythms to shift your state of mind. And whether you want to lift yourself or not down, you fall down, and you can struggle. You can struggle to go to sleep. And then many of us will have that problem. not going to stop thinking, because especially you are in a campaign, it's life or death, high pressure, and what are you going to do? Right? You're not going to sleep, or you have to stay up till 3, like I used to. I say at 3 a.m. because there's a call in Australia.
Right.
So that's where you have to use these other tools to shift your state of being. So when I do this all the time, right? So I do have a collection of delta waves, and I just need 20 minutes to get the equivalent of half a night's sleep. I understand breathing techniques that I can energize myself or go to different state. So these tools are there, and I encourage everybody to study these tools and use them as you need to change your state of being. Set there. In entrepreneurship, we work with India, we work with customers across the world, and
Manage your energy.
that's the right word. Energy, which is all about, is what Qigong is all about. And which also brings in practices that you have to have the discipline to not have practices that drain energy. Right? So you have to be able to understand what's not going to work for you. If this is the path you choose, then you're absolutely not going to do things that are wasteful of your energy. There's all kinds of.
So the question was, how do you keep up with the trends? Come up with these things?
Yes. So that it does require constant curiosity. So I'm always curious, and I spend a lot of time. I should say, I'm sure you guys students are thing. So I will always be reading and trying to understand. Is there something here that is happening? Cloud security effort came from one such reading, where there was some initial experiment that I took the journal on decomposing physical structure. So yes, so always be curious and can't stop learning.
Always be learning, always stay curious.
And understand how something is going to impact the area where you have expertise. Yeah. Most of the innovation comes from saying, I see Gen AI and I see networking, and I can make a connection. Right. So that's how innovation happens.
Just kind of keep track of time here. So I think we'll switch to the last topic. There's a question that actually is going to help us shift there. How does your religion, how does Sikhism support your life, your career, more than the martial arts and meditation?
I think it's a great question. And so, many of you who had a chance to look at Sikh history, it is full of examples of people that have kept their focus, that have shown perseverance, that have shown what faith means to them themselves, our powers are within. Our practices are not externalization of those powers, but they are within you, or that is within you, and you conquer mind, conquer everything. So and we are told as we were growing up, and all of us were told these stories about the heroic actions of these last 5 years.
Suffered persecution and struggle.
Exactly. And all of that from the stories would be like, it was just another day. Right? So that does change your psyche to the point where you get determined, very, very determined. Have the ability to focus. Our training tells us not to waste your energy on things that are bad to your health. Right? So those are some of the aspects of Sikhism. And just by virtue of just having those stories being told to us, sort of build that in your mind. That most Sikhs will probably have similar things.
There's power in that history. What about wearing a pagadi? ever come across your mind as something having an impact on your career in any negative way, in any positive way?
I don't believe it's ever been negative. And when I went to Iowa State, so this is Ames, Iowa, 1987. So I'm sure they've never seen a Sikh before. And I was there, and people were curious about, hey, where you from? I did Taekwondo, and I would travel to all the colleges and for competitions and stuff. And it was that pleasant experience. Grad school, starting off my career, and I think it's always been about the abilities as opposed to like the middleman. So I think so that is limitation of our own thinking, perhaps not as much as the environment. I'm sure there are just doesn't work that way, but in general, I would think your own abilities and higher they are, and maybe it forces me to become better. I just have to be so outstanding. Doesn't contributions are later on. But that's the mindset. Again, so coming back to where one is worth hundreds of thousands. Those concepts are there to kind of teach us that you as a unique, skilled individual will stand out because of those weaknesses.
Your mindset is the people that ultimately matter to you are going to judge you based on your actions, your contributions.
And that's it. And that's how I would judge anybody else.
That's a great place to end it. Dr. Ahuja, thank you so much.
Wonderful discussion.
Thanks so much for doing this. Just wanted to say thank you, Mandeep, for hosting, and Ratinder, thank you so much for coming. We'll be back in 30 to 60 days. We'll be announcing the next My Journey event, and gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate it.